Yeah, I've been posting these quiz questions every Monday on my community page for this YouTube channel. And one thing is very clear is that there is a lot of opportunity for educating about the cultural and ecological heritage of the Calumet region. I'll just say that. So we're going to do some of that today. One of the questions was, which one of these is the oldest dune system in the region? And we didn't do too good on that question. So I thought what I'd do today, a couple things actually. So one is explore a bit of this ancient shoreline, currently hiking on the Thorn Creek Trail. Started in Thornton and I'm making my way to Glenwood, which is the village that shares the name with this ancient shoreline. In 1897, a geologist by the name of Frank Leverett was out here studying. He was an expert in glaciers. And he is the one that gave the ancient shorelines their names. And in the case of Glenwood, it was because at the village of Glenwood, you had some of the best, remnants of these old dunes here. The best remnant is east of 394 along Glenwood Dyer Road on the north side. You can really see it dip down into the businesses along there as you're approaching state line. To the south was a big body of water that geologists today call Chicago Heights Bay. Went to the moraine. Got a good crop of dunes on US 30 near the old Ideal section of the Lincoln Highway. And then after that, the Glenwood dunes disappear until you start getting into East Lake County. Great view on Deep River going through Lake Station. To the north is the Calumet shoreline. To the south is the old Glenwood. And then as we move east into Porter County, at this point, in a lot of places, the Calumet and Glenwood shorelines actually overlapped. So it gets kind of hard to tell what's what. I was looking around trying to get some sense of how far north this ancient lake would have went. Where exactly the glacier would have been at a certain time. And best I could find was this graphic here showing it around Muskegon River. Geologists give the name of Lake Chicago. This is going to come in handy on a future quiz, by the way. Because while it is based in the same basin that our Lake Michigan is, it's a totally differently shaped lake. So I actually like that there are different names given to different phases. Wait till I tell you about the Chippewa phase. On the west end of this Glenwood Island, you would have had a spit, which is a pebbly, rocky, coastal area. And to the northwest, this would have connected into an exposed coral reef. What for us today is a big old hole in the ground. If you want the answer to today's quiz, it's dolomite that they're mostly excavating from the Thornton Quarry. Don't forget where you heard that from. All right, so there's our geology lesson for the day. Being in Glenwood also gives us a chance to talk about the legacy of one Major Taylor, Marshall Walter Taylor, the world's fastest man. This is a really interesting cultural legacy that I feel we have inherited here in the region. And I think folks here have done a fantastic job about this legacy. Major Taylor was born in Indianapolis in 1878. When he was a teenager, he moved to Worcester, Massachusetts, and he found Worcester a much more liberal climate in which to race against whatever opponent he wanted to challenge, to be mentored by whomever he wanted to be mentored by. And while still facing bigotry and segregation here at home, he became an international superstar in the late 19th century. Little commercial here. Belt Publishing has reissued an abridged version of Taylor's autobiography. Pick that up at beltpublishing.com. And you can also pick up my book, The Gary Anthology. So there's a second commercial. Please do that. So Taylor was, without a doubt, the first Black American global athletic superstar. Just as an aside, another black man born the same year Taylor was, 1878, became the second most famous Black American athlete, Jack Johnson, the boxer. Now, I first learned about Taylor in the late 1980s. There's a bit of a rediscovery of him. I must have read it in some kind of sports history book that I got from the library. Taylor retired from cycling in 1910, and unfortunately the last few decades of his life were challenging. His family fell apart. He was unable to pursue further education. He wrote an autobiography, couldn't find a publisher, so he self-published, which helped contribute to a declining financial situation. Ended up having to sell his property in Worcester, became estranged from his family. Last 2 years of his life, he was living in Chicago. 1932, he became ill, passed away, and nobody knew who he was or his significance, and he was buried in a pauper's grave at Glenwood Cemetery. And this cemetery at that time was the only one in Cook County that didn't have a racist covenant, or wasn't the kind of place that would charge a black family $50 while charging a white family $25. The cemetery is interesting. This probably a little island in that early Lake Chicago. 1948, a cycling association discovered this, and using some money from the Schwinn Company, were able to rebury Taylor with this beautiful monument here that I hope everybody goes and pays their respects to. I was reading an article sometime last year about the lifespan of celebrities and pop phenomena, especially after the person in question has passed away. I think the basic point of this article is that if you make it 80 years, you're going to be known for a long time to come. And here we are, almost a century after Taylor's death. And look what we have here in the region. We obtained the physical remains of this great man. He had nothing to do with our region, never lived here. But here we've inherited his final earthly remains. And these are the different ways that we've kept Taylor's legacy here in the region. And I think this is something great about us. There's, of course, the Major Taylor Trail. It goes from Beverly all the way down to the little Calumet River. 2 murals, including a beautiful one over the river we visited a couple of years ago. It's one of my favorite murals out in this whole region. There's a number of organizations, the Major Taylor Trail Keepers, Friends of the Major Taylor Trail, Major Taylor Cycling Club. So while he may not have been a region person, I think it really says something about us and the ways that we've kept his legacy alive, in our home region. So all you doing that, keep up the amazing work. Major Taylor was the fastest man on earth. I am the most winded man today. The irony, I haven't been able to ride a bicycle in 15 years because of this Meniere's that I got. So I see the world at 3 miles an hour, and even that's giving me trouble today. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed all that. Look for those quizzes on Monday. I'll see you in another adventure in the Calumet Wilderness. Take care.